stablecoins have become increasingly relevant in Africa, already accounting for 43% of the continent's crypto transaction volume. Rob Downs, head of digital assets at Absa CIB, joins us now to look into the challenges driving the popularity and stablecoins as potential strategic treasury tools on the continent. Thank you so much for your time, Rob. I must say, I struggle to understand stablecoins. I understand crypto, I understand, blockchain, I understand currencies, but I don't understand the link between the two. So just talk to us about that, and particularly the link between then the digital tokens and the US dollar currency.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So I guess a stable coin is a type of cryptocurrency, but essentially it's backed by an underlying asset. In this case, the asset is a US dollar. So it's a token, a digital token, but anybody that holds a US dollar stable coin essentially knows that the value of that is always going to be worth $1. And there are other stable coins too, underpinned by, which are backed by gold or the euro or other currencies or other commodities. But the US dollar stablecoin is by far the biggest in the world. I mean, more than 98% of those in use today are backed by the US dollar. So that's what everyone's using.
I'm wondering also then if, because we're in an environment now where I guess the dominance of the dollar is being questioned in the future, and we also know the volatility that is inherent in the currency scene. Is there any kind of shift in view in terms of then what stable coins are backed by?
Well, I think this is part of what Genius was passed in the US, because I think one of the big drivers for them is to cement the US dollar as a global trade currency. And I think what they were concerned about was a lot of that flow for US dollar stablecoins was actually run by offshore organizations. So some of the biggest one being Tether, which is not present in the US, Circle being the other biggest one, which is present in the US. So I think one of the big drivers for them passing this law and rushing it through, to be honest, I mean, this came very quickly in the US, is to try and make sure that they cement that dollar status, and that as part of the bill, part of the law, they're insisting that dollar-backed stablecoins are run from the US, and the security that backs the stablecoin is kept in the US onshore, which is a big driver for them to control the value of the dollar.
Okay. Well, now we're also talking about really the functions of stable coins, particularly in an African context. So what and who would stable coins then work for the benefit of, and how's the popularity of it looking like on the continent?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, stablecoins, dollar-backed stablecoins especially, have grown largely in emerging markets. So some in Africa, in South America, in the Asian markets. They've grown in popularity through consumers looking to have a vehicle where they can offset some of their risks from the local currency. So especially in high inflation rates, where the local currencies are devaluing, people are looking for an alternative, and they see the dollar as a safe haven. They see it as an asset that they can buy, and they can now buy dollar digitally as opposed to needing to buy it through maybe the traditional financial sector. So that's stimulated a lot of the growth so far. I think the future growth, and where we're seeing growth over the last couple of years especially, is businesses and global organizations looking to improve their working capital cycles. So you've got treasury functions who are now able to move US dollars 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and able to move it pretty much real time, as opposed to what might have happened often in the more traditional banking sector. It normally takes 1 or 2 days for US dollars to move. So that's a lot of money tied up in working capital, and people are starting to see the opportunity, and treasurers, I think especially, are starting to see the opportunity to move money real time, less forecasting, more certainty of money being where they need it, when they need it.
Well, that's the thing also, because when you talk about cryptocurrency on the continent, you also rarely see, those movements and that exchange within the informal market, not really the formal market, the traditional market, and particularly the banking market. So talk to me about the gaps that exist there, but also the level of absorption that we could see by traditional banks in Africa.
Yeah, I think it's growing significantly. I think that the way that regulations are now taking shape is going to really help traditional and regulated institutions adopt stablecoins more. If you look at the growth 7 years ago, this was a very small market, maybe $500 million. Today, it's a $267 billion market. That growth has happened without really having regulations on a global scale. Europe now has the regulations, Asian markets, now the US having regulations. In Africa, more and more markets are laying down crypto and digital asset regulations. In South Africa, of course, we have CASP licensing, we have crypto as a financial product. We've got the travel rule has been implemented in South Africa. So we're really starting to see that get bedded down. And as regulations land in markets, the formal, if we want to call it the formal, the traditional banking sector is definitely going to start participating more.
Okay, and just lastly, as we're talking about that participation, what then do Treasury teams need to consider and do to prepare themselves as the need for stable coin-driven solutions intensifies?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do, I think, is make sure that they've done some research on what stablecoins are, how they're being used, the different types of stablecoins, and also internally with their executives, with their boards of directors, just share that education and help people learn and understand it. And then I think a sensible first step is think about, moving money internally if they've got different treasury departments, or talking to some of their supplier base and understanding where their suppliers are thinking about using stablecoins too. So I think education and then take some first steps are probably the sensible things to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that very, very insightful conversation on stablecoins, Rob. Really, really appreciate it. That was Absa CIB's head of digital assets, Rob Downs.